this, which happens to be the 7th day in the month of October of 2023. Need we also remind you that today is World Habitat Day, as confirmed by the United Nations Settlement Programs on Habitat, as at 2011. And they have a theme, which is engaging youth to create a better urban future, right? Well, my name is Udwak Daniel, and I'm not alone in the studio.
I am Omo Efepi Sosemere. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Right, thank you for joining us. And that also goes to the fact that we should also bring to your eardrums the fact that the Nigerian government has confirmed the sale of crude oil to local refiners in Naira, and that it has commenced already. And this was announced by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, and that is Wale Edun. So this move is expected to reduce the cost of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, and have a lasting impact on Nigeria's economy.
That's right. President Bola Tinubu directed the sale of crude oil to Dangote Refinery in Naira, aiming to bring down PMS costs. Although Dangote Refinery rolled out petrol products from its 650,000 barrel refinery in Lagos, the initial price of 950 Naira per litre was disappointing to many Nigerians. However, Dangote promised that prices would reduce or decrease, if you like, further after crude sales in Naira commenced.
Quite disappointing because quite a number of Nigerians are looking forward, to the churning out of, the product, petrol, from the, 650,000 capacity refinery that is right there in Nigeria. But then there's a lot to also want to take in from the place of would that indeed be what it would be, when all of these processes have begun indeed. When the Naira is used as the medium of exchange and not the dollar,
right?
Would that have some impact, on the general price of PMS? Even though some are saying that there are some other factors that should be considered when we're talking about fixing prices. And some have also called on the president, saying, President, you have a word in this. You have to come and talk about this, because they believe that when the president speaks, regardless of whether there is market forces or not, it could just pick the price into maybe 400 Naira to a litre. But then, is that really what it is? But let's also put it out there that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has purchased the product at 898 Naira per litre from Dangote, and the sale of crude oil and refined petroleum products in Naira officially started on October 1 of 2024. Right. So this is quite strategic. It's an initiative that is quite strategic, and whereby it is expected to foster growth, stability, and also bring some levels of self-sufficiency, right? To allowing the Nigerian economy find its boost, especially amidst global market complexities. But yes, we'll be having our guest who's going to be joining us.
Right. The person of Adefolarin Olamilekon. He is a political economist, a lead researcher, and policy analyst at Pole Eco Analytics.
That's right.
A think tank and economic research organization based in Abuja, Nigeria. Indeed, when you talk about this, it leaves us with so much, to talk about. Sometime last month, the presidency issued a statement that the president, who happens to be the petroleum minister, will not meddle in this, a back and forth between, NNPC and the Dangote refinery in terms of, pricing or fixing, the price. And a number of Nigerians actually had expected so much, from the margins of Dangote refinery, selling the product to Dangote at the time. We understand it was a crude to dollar, agreement. But of course, they say October 1, officially, it will now be crude, oil in Naira. But again, has that really started? These are some of the questions that we're going to be, asking our guests this morning on the program. And we're also having this conversation such that, Nigerians can get informed and also enlightened on the progression of events, especially with regards to policies, of government, so we can actually hold them to account.
Right.
When the need, avails itself.
Exactly. And also, just to also bring it to you, the federal government has confirmed it. It's now official. The commencement of crude oil sales to local refiners in Naira. The Minister of Finance, and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Adun, put it out there. And is this bringing joys on our faces? Is it putting a smile on our faces? Would we be indeed feeling, the impact? Because that's always, the bane of it. There's the impact. If we do not feel the impact, Nigerians would be as though you would only make promises as usual, and it becomes the usual rhetoric as we find it out there. But how would this impact you? Take for example, you're a taxi driver or a small business owner. How would you benefit from it when there's a reduction in price of fuel? It will improve your livelihood. That's for sure. If you also take for example maybe a taxi driver who spends 5,000 naira daily on fuel, a 10% reduction would save him at least 500 naira. But then there are also context and analysis that we will look into, but that we will not be doing by ourselves, as we have our guest already on standby. Very good morning and welcome to the show this morning, Mr. Adefolari Olamilekan.
Thanks for having me. Good morning to all us listening out there. And good morning to you.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into it right away, right? The 650,000 capacity refinery that we have, which quite a number of Nigerians are believing is a blessing and not a curse. Others are saying it's a blessing in disguise. Others are saying that it is indeed a curse and a distraction, because this would allow for us to somewhat dissociate ourselves from the allegedly moribund refineries and not want to pay attention to these refineries in total, and that it will further devalue our stance based on the resources. That's talking about the crude resources that we have, and we would not put it into effective usage. But others are still coming on the place of saying, oh well, it's a ride or die. It's a thumbs up to the federal government having been able to bring with precise exactitude October 1 being the time for the sale of crude to in Naira within the country. For you, I don't know. There's a lot to go on with this. Fuel subsidy, about 1.4 trillion naira spent in 2022. Foreign exchange fluctuations was about 710 naira to a dollar at the time in 2022. Refining capacity issues bordered around 38% of refining capacity utilized. And Nigerians are asking questions. One of such would be about the economic diversification. How will this policy impact Nigeria's economy?
A very interesting question you have asked, and very interesting development that we are having right now in regards to being said for Naira, for Nigerian local refineries, which is very important.
Right.
But on the other hand, we must also interrogate the processes whereby this can definitely affect and impact Nigeria, because the question is, in as much as government is going to make this to happen, how is it going to affect Nigerians with to be sold to them in Naira, and the price of fuel will come down. And we have established this in other discussion before that. This may not necessarily happen on the immediate term. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, go ahead.
Right. Yes, this may not immediately happen on the immediate time, in the sense that the producers, the refiners are also looking at other costs that implications to them. Now, they are getting the crude at Naira rate, but other importation of their equipment, their machinery, that still getting it to dollar. They are still using dollars to import it, to get those equipment into the country and install them. So that will also be a factor. But on the long run, that is where the price may choose. In a sense that if this continue consistently, it does break in the supply of the crude to the refiners, companies, and there is no break in the agreement that it will be paid later in the year or in the future to dollar, then we should expect the price of PMS to come down on the basis of local production and local input. You get it? But immediately, on the immediate term, as we speak right now, we may not see that immediate drop in the price of PMS, or as people expect it to be, a drastic drop. Because when you tell Nigerians that by the time you begin to sell in crude in Naira, then the price of PMS will come down. The majority of Nigerians are thinking about a 500 Naira per liter, a 400 Naira per liter, a 300 Naira per liter. But as we speak right now, we may not get that on the immediate term. But if government can sustain the supply and the sales constantly and regularly, we may enjoy this price reduction on the long term. But on the immediate time, we may not experience it. As an earlier pointed out, those refinery companies of PMS or crude oil, they also buy other things in dollar. Apart from the crude oil that government wants to sell for them in Naira, they buy their equipment, they buy their machinery, they buy the spare parts of their equipment. They do other things that is in dollar. So they may want to reflect that on the current price of the PMS they will be selling. So it will be coming in Naira. But on the longer term, which will justify how this price can really come down, is if government can sustain this price in Naira to them for a long time. I mean, for many, many years to come, definitely we have reduction, but not as Nigerians will expect, because as earlier pointed out also in this discussion, many Nigerians are thinking that if they start selling for them in Naira, then the price of PMS will come down to 500 Naira or so. That will be not happen immediately. But we hope it can happen if we sustain with the sales of crude oil in Naira to Nigerians. I will quickly give a good example of why Nigerians should not be too hypertensive or anxiety that, this price. Look at the gas. We are producing gas here in Nigeria. NNL, Nigeria Natural Gas, is producing gas here for Nigeria. But look at the fluctuation of the price of gas. In this period that we are right now, the price of gas is going high. But bet me, by next year, February, March, the price will come down. So because, and why is the price of gas going up this period was that this is the period that winter comes up in Europe and America. And this is the period that normally store gas to generate heat. So PMS also need to fluctuate around the seasonal period as well as the supply period of the goods.
All right, Adefa Larin, to come in real quick. Thank you so much for that insight, first of all. I mean, trying to juxtapose, the fluctuation in the price of cooking gas and that of fuel, one may not really be able to, toe the path, with which you've laid your submission, because fuel is one commodity that a number of Nigerians, especially businesses, small and even medium, scale size businesses, if you like, actually depend on, to run their day-to-day activities. And somehow the hike in the price of fuel has impacted these businesses so much so that it has trickled down to the price or prices of foodstuff and other essentials in the country. So if you say that Nigerians should not expect an immediate reduction in the price of fuel, despite the sale of crude in Naira, that it means that the days ahead for Nigerians are going to be very gloomy, and then of course, that the festive period is around the corner. What does this portend for Nigeria and Nigerians?
Very well. We need to understand it technicality around this capitalist system of economy that we are practicing, particularly pricing. The simplest way to understand free market economy is to understand it from the perspective of how supply demand, although technically determine price, but we know that it is not just supply demand that determine price. It is just the activities around businesses, around activities, particularly the tax for profit that determine price. And that's why they create artificial taxes. Now, in regard to Nigerians, as festive periods are coming in, Christmas is coming in, celebration is coming. This is what happens. The only way to ensure a price that will be affordable is for the government to ensure that they supply this crude, they sustain the agreement of the supply and state of this crude in Naira to the refineries. But if they fail to do that, if they allow these guys to now say, okay, they're importing the crude, there will be a problem. Then on the other hand, all other logistic activities around the supply of this particular product, because after refining, it has to be transported across the country through trailers and other means. But what we are trying to say is that those logistics must be ensured to be free flow. There should be free flow of those supplies in a way that logistics are not hampered. You can remember that some weeks back or some months back, one of the reasons why there was price scarcity within a short period of 2-3 weeks, they said it's because of flooding. So now nobody's talking about flooding again. So we expect the supply to be steady, and we also expect logistics to be freely going smoothly. If this can be handled, Nigerians will have accessibility to PMS, and the price will be stable, but not to drop. To drop to the imaginative price, because Nigerians have an imaginative price they want. 500, 600, that's what many people are thinking. I was even seeing on the weekend, people are saying that a price of oil has dropped to 617. It was a lie. It was just a gimmick of some individuals on the social media to create unnecessary panic and the rest of them. So what I'm trying to point out that as long as logistics can be taken care of, and as long as supply is not also as long as supply is not also hampered by ingenious activities of people who are in charge, definitely the price will be there, but not to drop as we expect. But on the long run that Nigerians want to hear is that let this agreement be sustained.
Okay.
Let no government official come tomorrow and say, no, we are not going to allow products to be selling in dollar and naira again. If that happens, definitely we will continue to cry over this policy of the government. But for now, let us hope that the agreement is sustained, and let us also hope in this festive period that is coming that logistics is not hampered. There is no challenge with logistics, and supply is not also hindered as a result of activities of businesses want to make profit. We're trying to create unnecessary anxiety after the corner, because I know that most of these people in this oil and gas sector, they have a way of giving excuses why price must go up and why price must remain as it is. But as we speak right now, the majority of Nigerians are hoping that this agreement with government to sell food to in naira to bring out the price, but not on the immediate term. But what we are hoping that in this specific period, supply will not be hindered, and logistics challenges will not be created.
All right, Adefalarin, just a follow-up to to your response. We understand that the currency market, that the naira lost 89.27 against the dollar at the official foreign exchange market in the first week of October. As we speak, as at the close of trading on Friday, it was 1,670 naira at the official and black foreign exchange market, and also 1,631, respectively, as at the close of trading on Friday. So, is it possible, taking a look at the body language of the relevant stakeholders in this sector and the progression of events, do you see the possibility of, the government, rescinding this decision of, trading crude in naira in the days to come?
Definitely. The thing is that we may not have enough time to discuss the FX issue, because I said it on this your radio station and another radio station. See, the reason why naira is fluctuating around 1,690, 1,700, 1,650, we have already established it. See, the government is raising in money as a result of the debt obligation. There are debt obligations hanging around the government, particularly through the sales of bond paper, through the sales of treasury paper, because government have now understood that they can't go for outright loans. They can't go to World Bank or IMF to go and collect any outright loan anymore. So the only way to quickly show up the funding they need is to use fixed income loans by selling treasury paper, selling bonds to raising money. Now, on the aspect of the oil and gas sector, it has already been established that the major impact of the price of PMS in Nigeria is because of the importation of it. And one of the reasons of that importation was that when marketers go out to import, they source for dollar from the CBN, and that dollar they source for because of our low export, because we're supposed to be earning more dollar from export, but we are not earning. So the CBN only go outrightly to go and remove money from our foreign reserve. And when they remove money from our foreign reserve, it creates panic. In the sense that investors are supposed to come into the country, we see that our foreign reserve is low, so they may not have the confidence to come into the economy to come and invest. So all this affected the effect as well as importation of PMS continue that way. But now, we now have an understanding that nobody is importing PMS anymore. Even though some people are agitating that it is more cheaper to import than to refine crude. But that argument has been thrown to the industry because we now see that, no, we don't need to import because it affects our domestic economy, particularly our foreign reserve.
Okay.
Right.
The people who are going to be refining for us, as I earlier pointed out, they are not only going to be buying crude oil in dollar, they also import equipment and machines that they use dollar to buy. So in that regard, they may be factoring those ones into the cost of their production, and that would be a challenge one way or the other. But we just hope that the government can be able to sustain, because one of the key things that I want to emphasize in this discussion is that if we can sustain the sales of this food to these guys in Naira, they won't have much excuse to give us.
All right.
On the long term, why the price of PMS must go up.
Right.
Because government have tackled one aspect of their challenges. They are not importing crude with dollar, but they can use dollar to import and buy some of their equipment and their machines, which has already been established. But on a longer term, one of the biggest excuses they are always giving is that because they are buying crude oil in dollar, that's why the price of PMS will be translated and changed according to the price of this commodity. But that has been solved right now. We just hope that it can be sustained in sales of crude oil in Naira.
All right, let's put effect to your thoughts right there. Open the phone lines so that we can indeed have our family members join their voice up, and also let us into their thoughts, on in the conversation, right? But just before we go up there, let's put it out there that the number for you to call to join the conversation would be 0907 353 0044. And the WhatsApp portal number would be 0909 705 4450. Please do well to just send a WhatsApp message strictly to the WhatsApp message and not a voice note. But you can also do a text message. Very, very important for you to do these, all right? And that way you can indeed connect with us as we go conversational. Still talking on the topical issue, sale of crude oil in Naira, commences, and that's according to the federal government. In case you're just tuning in, this is Eagles 102.3 FM, and yes, the Nigerian government's decision to sell crude oil in Naira is aimed to strengthen the economy, to reduce dependency on foreign exchange and increase local refining capacity. And according to the federal government, this move is part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's economic reforms. But then there is a huge question that is still, hampering, over, the conversation this morning. And that will be from the place of transparency. So, Mr. Adefolari, after all has been said and done, how do you think that the government would ensure transparent crude oil sales? Are you there? Hello? All right, it seems like there's a bit of a network glitch going on right there. We'll try as much as we can to, connect with our guest again. But yes, you already know the numbers that are out there, 0907 353 0044. And what are your thoughts about this? I mean, considering the fact that this is a country where finally we've now had a working refinery, even though it is not to the expectation of many of us, because it is somewhat a private enterprise.
That's right.
But then, even amidst the calls and successive failures that we have had to encounter in having our local refineries come aboard. I mean, we've had promises, and the NNPCL at some point had, given us that, don't worry about it, Port Harcourt refinery, especially Port Harcourt refinery and the Kaduna refinery would come aboard. But then every time that they made those promises, every time they failed, and it got to the point where it seemed as though we suddenly lost hope. And then when we see this on the news, in fact, Nigerians laugh now. Is thing of ridicule, because it's more like they've come again with their big rhetorics. Nothing is going to happen, right? Is this not our country? And it doesn't really tell well, because for a country that produces crude, I mean, we can take citations to, some other countries if we're to do a comparative analysis of Nigeria's decision to sell crude oil, especially in Naira, with other countries. It will reveal valuable insights that come from the place of, take for example, Angola's success story. Angola actually has a success story where Angola successfully implemented a similar policy in 2018, and that was increasing local refining capacity by 20%, and that also improved foreign exchange reserves by 15%, and also stabilized the economic growth at 3.5. You might also want to consider, I think, Saudi Arabia now.
That's right. Saudi Arabia is, not any different from Angola in terms of, really now the success stories that have been recorded. Saudi Arabia has been able to diversify its economy through oil sales, reduce, oil dependence from 90% to 50%, further increasing foreign exchange, reserves by 20% and decreasing unemployment by 30%. Little wonder Saudi Arabians, you see, I don't know if you've seen a number of their videos, in circulation where they get, it's a thing of pride.
It's a thing of pride.
Right,
indeed,
for the citizens.
Indeed.
It's more like we know how to utilize, the resources that we have within our reach.
Well, let's get back with, but just before we get back with you, Mr. Adefolari, let's take this call. Hello and good morning.
Good morning, UD.
Yes,
morning, Ife. Alani calling back from Central Area.
All right,
yes,
welcome
I
back.
greet our guests. Well, the decision for the government to sell crude in Naira, it's a welcome development. However, this does not, in any way reduce or affect the pricing of petroleum. Petroleum is a global commodity that is being priced in dollars, and none of the components, including the manufacturing of it, the refining, and even the equipment used, in drilling and producing things, it's not priced in local currency, but in the global currency known as the US dollar. So what this invariably means is that the government of Nigeria, instead of the oil marketers sourcing for the forex in buying it, the government will be the one, what basically the government will be doing is to be selling to them in Naira at the exchange rate of the dollar to the Naira. So the marketers are not bringing dollars, they are not going to source for dollars to buy, but they are coming to the government to buy. The government will now produce the dollar at the exchange rate in Naira. So this is just, this is what it means. It doesn't in any way affect or it will reduce the price. It is not. The only thing it's removing is just, the encumbrance of, marketers hustling and, sourcing for forex. And as a result, I think it will also boost our economy. What you need basically is that all of the forex that the government will be the one, so the government will know actually how much are we even, using in buying, this crude for consumption. I think in area of transparency, if the government is just as transparent as all of us want, this is very good for our economy. It will give us an ample understanding and data as to how much we're actually, using in the importation or distribution of the PNS and other aviation food, and in fact all of all other consumables as far as it has to do with
right.
fuel in the country. So this is what it simply means. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alamin, right there putting out his thoughts. Well, Mr. Adefolari, we're back to you. How do you react to that?
Actually, the caller said something very interesting around the effect between the Naira to dollar exchange rate. And these are all things that we already have understanding of. But the issue remains that for us to enjoy this crude oil sales in Naira to the refineries, it has to be sustained. If it's not sustained, definitely we have a challenge. And again, I think a lot of Nigerians are beginning to understand the issues around our effects, because just 2 months ago, if you go hear what the refinery company said, those refineries, they said government should fix dollar to Naira at 1,000, the price of PMS will come down to 600.
Mm-hmm.
You already understand what everybody is looking at. You get it? But for me, the issue on agreement have to be sustained. If you don't sustain this agreement with the refinery company, they have challenges. You know why we're having fluctuation in price of gas? Let me, almost talk about the gap.
Yeah, I would like you to save that thought, so we just go pay some bills. We'll get back with you and continue from where you stopped, if that's okay. Right. Well, anyways, that's it. And this is not all. Let's just go take a breather. We will be right back in a short break. Don't go away.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
This is Limited, the solution for your car needs and services.
In the governance process,
Eagles
do you want to make a
102.3
difference
Abuja.
in your community? Don't let your voice go unheard.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area,
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring
the changes in price of commodity to happen all of a sudden? It might just take a couple of processes. But then would you also blame Nigerians when they come to say that this is our crude, this is our resources? We should be able to get it at indeed a lesser price. But yes, this is why we're having this conversation, so we can have a proper understanding of the matrix behind the ideologies that bother or confine our thoughts to the topical issue in discourse. But let's just hear from you. Hello and good morning. Hello. Yes, good morning to you, please.
Good morning, Mr. UD.
Good morning. Is this UND?
Good morning,
Is this UND?
Good morning. Yes, my name is UND.
Oh, okay.
I'm calling right here in Sokoro.
Okay, feels good. Welcome aboard. Let's go very quickly.
Yes, you see, selling our commodities as an entity, as a nation, in your currency is very, very important on your GDP. It really help your currency in terms of, boosting the root of your currency. Because if you check even the Arabs, they don't sell they only convert it, but you're supposed to sell it on Naira. If you go a long way in helping our currency, we will watch. Our 1,000 Naira cannot buy something that is, because of all those things and the debt, understand, of our nation. So all these things accept the Naira.
Right.
So, but coming on this topic, to sell the crude to Naira, your time is good. My brother, you do.
Okay, all right.
So,
Thank you.
For me, that's my stake.
Thank you, UND,
But
for that one.
They have to be transparent. That is the only
They
problem
have to be transparent.
They have to be transparent.
Get that. Thank you so much, UND, for that one. UND already speaking about transparency. I mean, we cannot stop talking about that as some of the political statements or the statements from, some stakeholders in the process. The president himself has said this policy will strengthen our economy. The Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, had said we expect reduced fuel prices. Now, he said it. Wale Edun said we expect reduced fuel prices. And the Dangote refinery too has also looked into the fact that saying we will increase refining capacity. These are statements credited to these stakeholders. Mr. Defolari, we'll still get back with you, but let's go take this call again. Hello and good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, please. Good morning to you.
Yeah, Alamin is a Boko Haram terrorist. Don't mind him.
Who's this?
Don't worry. It's fine. It's a rogue caller. But anyways, we would not want to give ears to that. But then, yes, the discourse is still coming on. I mean, if we talk about terrorism and all of that, we know them and they are amongst us. And we see them, and that's why we implore us as much as we can that we should indeed report these people. Imagine this disgruntled, person who has just decided to make a foolery of himself. But yeah, we're still talking, the sales of, crude in Naira. Well, Mr. Adefolari, you were holding a thought, earlier on.
I'm here with you.
Yes,
please.
You were holding a thought before.
I didn't get it. What's your question?
Okay, the question will be let me come from the place of transparency, because one of the family members had mentioned the place of transparency. How do you think that the government will ensure transparency, or transparent crude oil sales? And now that we have come to the place of, okay, we are using our local currency now, to transact.
Are you talking about the local currency?
Yes, please.
I think we have established this before. The issue about currency is a long discussion around monetary policy, particularly when you really want to dissect critically why nation's currency is debunked. One of the greatest means to kill a country, to destroy a country, is to debunk their currency. What debunk means is that destroy the value of their currency. And in Nigeria, that has been done on us. Let me give you a typical example. According to the World Bank and IMF, a typical devaluation of a currency should not be more than between 0.00 to 10% when you want to devalue your currency. It should not be more than 0.00 to 10%. Now, we have done over 58% of our devaluation of our currency, going to 70 to 80.
So what implication what implication does that hold?
The implication is that if we destroy the purchasing power of the people, then it will make importation very, very expensive. And the reason are very simple. The reason why government is doing this is because they can't go for outright loan anymore. So the only way to raise the money is to ensure that they devalue the currency, make some money from the valuation of the currency, defend the naira against the dollar, and sustain the economy on a technical part. Now, if you can read the meaning, when the president was reading out his speech on the 1st of October, he was talking about the growth they have been able to achieve. That growth is technical. It doesn't have any reality on Nigerians. So, that is how the government wants to sustain the economy. And it's very, very wrong. And the reason why they are taking this path is because they have deviated from productivity that will allow for exportation. That is it. And it didn't start today. It started since 1999. And beyond 1999, we can record that Nigeria became an import-dependent nation when the government deviates from productivity, when the government removes its hand from after production. I want to say after production, that is government participating in business. See, there are 64 government-owned enterprises. Go and ask and find out what those enterprises are doing. All of them are just doing collection of charges, collection of fees, regulatory. They are not producing any single thing for Nigerians to consume. For government expected to bring in revenue. How would they bring in revenue? Meanwhile, in developed crime, a typical example is China. China ensures that government does not remove its hand from the participation of businesses because they understand the importance of it. But here in Nigeria, a lot of economies, particularly mainstream economies, encourage government to remove its hand from production. And that's why NNPC cannot function. NNPC was designed to be a failure from 1972 or 73 that it was established. Usually because they already know that if Nigeria is producing a refined product in Nigeria, it will be better and the economy will be stable. But they designed NNPC in a way that it will only rely on some sector to survive. And that has been how it has been. So we just give God the glory that they never allowed NNLG to perform in that action, which has been a dangerous one for Nigerians all along in the oil and gas, particularly in the gas sector.
Do you think that this sales, in Naira would indeed begin to encourage, more local refineries, especially the looking into some of the refineries that have been left unattended to spring forth, into action? Even after all of the several promises have failed, do you also think that would indeed create job or allow for job creation in the process?
Definitely, they will. They will create jobs. They will create opportunity for Nigerians. But the bottom line is that government is not giving them food, and why government is giving them food is to discourage them for importation. But how will government sustain? Because you must understand government politics from this angle of what government is thinking around is revenue generation. Because the action of the current government is that they want more money to be generated, but they are not ready to put their hand in a plow to ensure that they provide services and provide products for Nigeria. Take a look at the foreign refineries. If the foreign refineries are working, who will care about the price of crude oil being sold in dollar or naira? Nobody will care. Because government has moved its hand from that productivity sector. But they are not relying on the private sector to do all these things. Meanwhile, they want to charge the private sector with all kind of taxes. and private sector will transfer and transmit those taxes on ordinary Nigerians who will be paying for this fuel that we are talking about. So government must be able to look at NNPC must ensure that they also within a finance to work, even though they have designed and they have desire that they are going to sell those foreign refineries to private investors. So we'll just be Nigerians will just rely on it. Private refineries producing PMS for us, then telling us any price they want to fix it. And that doesn't mean that even government says the food oil for them as cheap as it could be, they will still determine a price on the high side.
Ajefolarin, in all sincerity and boldness, do you think the local refineries will ever work again?
They will overwhelm you. What's the last part of the word?
Yes, I said in every sense of the question I'm asking you now. Do you think the local refineries will ever work again?
Definitely they will be overwhelmed, because one of the things that will overwhelm them is that they don't have a mutual trust for the government. The government can change that they are not selling again in dollar in Naira anymore. You know why? Because the moment,
yeah, sorry to bother you. The question is, I think a yes or no response will do now, whether or not the local refineries will work again. We know there is a saying that dead bones, shall rise again, right?
Yeah.
Or dry bones. In this case, in this case, do you think the local refineries will ever work again?
Whether they will be able
to work again. Work again.
Okay, the foreign refineries.
Yes.
Yes, please.
If it's on the part of this current government, I don't think that is their action is tailored towards that to ensure they look at refineries work. Do you know the excuses they give? If you have paid attention, to NNPC top management from the GMT to the list of them. Do you know what they give as excuses why there are not compensation on local refineries, particularly for refineries to work? They say NNPC is operating on a low margin. Do you know what it means to operate a business on a low margin?
No.
It means that you are not making any profit. You are losing and losing and losing. That's the excuse they are giving. But we have told them that it's a lie. What they are saying is a lie.
Well, if you say it's a lie, then are you trying to say also that it's a lie that the NNPCL, ran into debts of, about $6 billion or something?
$6 billion, yeah.
And
yes.
When NNPC released its audited account for 2023, there were so many shortcomings that NNPC refused to explain to Nigeria. The $6 billion they are talking about, it's as a result of their own unfunctionality in terms of how they are managing the entire exercise. Now, the $6 billion was not because of the broad APMS. The $6 billion is as a result of their joint ventures activities. We took our time to look at those audited accounts. And we discovered that there are so many frivolous activities carried out by NNPC in that 2023. And not just 2023, before 2023, there's been so many shoddy activities that many Nigerians know, even those the military administration take it upon itself to be releasing information. But those information that have led us to understand there are so many things that they are doing wrongly. Now, the $6 billion they are talking about, they say it is under recovery because they imported PMS for Nigerian government. And they gave the excuses. They said because of fluctuation of the Naira. Have you forgotten?
All right, Ajefolarin. I would like you to hold your thoughts right there. Let's take, some of the contributions we have on the WhatsApp portal. This one here says, good morning, Eagles.
Good morning.
I will say a lot of Nigerians already have a fixed expected price, which, wouldn't be possible now. I feel it's a process that needs to stabilize, things. However, selling in Naira will stabilize some structure in Nigeria. It's a good push. I just hope the consistency doesn't stop. This is from Dion from Apple. Thank you so much for that message. A very lengthy one here. Now, this one here says, good morning, Daniel and Efe. I'm listening from Nasarawa State. We want immediate solutions to our suffering, which is mostly tied to the removal of fuel subsidy. Whether Dangote buys in Naira or not, we want to see a drastic reduction in pump price. And we can't explain why Dangote's refinery, NNPCL, should be the one to determine the price. Lastly, Tinubu, after the promise to bring in hundreds of CNG buses, 1 year plus, the administration is still promising. It's becoming clear that Tinubu may have succeeded in taking his turn as Nigeria, president, but not prepared to better the lives of Nigerians. Terky Bihundu, just to, clarify that, I think a number of, CNG buses have been rolled out already.
That's right. On the 1st of October, I think 64 for the 64th
anniversary, independence anniversary.
Yeah, and all of that. Yeah. So, yeah, let's see this one too. Coming from Alamin, it says, as an addendum to his earlier submission, the new policy of the federal government to sell crude in Naira will make the commodity available and end the incessant queues in our fueling stations because marketers will no longer have to source for forex to import the commodity. Federal government through CBN and NNPCL will now source for the forex, then sell to marketers in our local currency, the Naira. It says, my fear, however, is transparency on the part of NNPCL, CBN, and the federal government. If the process is implemented with utmost transparency, then the policy is capable of strengthening our economy. Block the leakages in forex. All right, Alamin, thank you so much for that one.
But indeed, we know, of course, that having the commodity available or in abundance is perhaps not the concern of the average Nigerian on the street who has a small business, a small kiosk, right?
Right.
Who actually depends on fuel to run, their businesses. How affordable would it be? Now, the economist is telling us right now that Nigerians should not expect an immediate reduction in the price of fuel. But the reality is, that is what is, making a number of businesses to go under as we speak. So why can't we get to a place where the price, will be reduced? Well, if you say reduced to 400 naira or 500 naira, one will say that, well, we're just, wishing, and if wishes were horses, beggars will ride. That's right. But let's say something around 600, because it looks like, as at when the product was sold at 600 naira, a number of Nigerians, they quickly, adjusted, somewhat, right? And it's kind of like restored this level of, normalcy to, economic activities in the country. But come on, at the moment, 1,000, naira, and even over in some places, it's really not realistic for a number of Nigerians at the moment.
Well, then it also goes to the place of, what are those implications and what are the expectations that we as Nigerians are also looking at, as we look at this new policy as put together by the Tinubu-led administration. One of such implications for sale of crude oil in Naira, could be the reduced fuel prices, which will benefit low-income households and also stimulate economic growth. Increased, local refining capacity will reduce dependence on imported fuel and create jobs. As just what Saudi Arabia, had done. Improved foreign exchange reserves will stabilize, exchange rates and increase investor confidence. What would now be the expectations for Nigerians should this indeed pull through to the truth letter of the word? Some of the expectations will be the transparent, crude oil sales will reduce corruption and increase public trust. Another would be from the place of effective implementation of local content policies, refining capacity and creating jobs. And then there will be an increased, refining capacity to reduce dependence on imported fuel as well as boost the economic growth. But then, for everything that we always put together as a policy, there is always a place of sustainability. There's always the place of monitoring, right? And that's where it is also essential, to be able to apply a monitoring, unit or team. I don't know, just to oversee or supervise to ensure that all of these, come to play. Because we've seen great and wonderful, fantastic policies out there. But then when it comes to sustainability, just as the guest mentioned, and the place of monitoring, that's where we are always lacking. In fact, you mentioned, is it maintenance at some point too? Yeah, there's a level of maintenance that we have totally lost, and that's really causing, a stare, and the fear and the mistrust or distrust for the process. But Mr. Adefolari, let's just get your final thoughts, on this. I mean, we mentioned issues of monitoring, having a monitoring unit or team, monitoring and evaluation. That's, of course, to ensure that we follow this process till the letter, and we don't lose sight of what drove us in the first place, into it, and the expectations and implications. As your final thoughts, Minister of Finance Wale Adun had said that it has the potential of reducing price of the commodity. But what would be your say? What were your final thoughts on this?
I think to conclude this discussion this morning is to call on the government. They have made an agreement, and that agreement is what most Nigerians are interested in. What is that agreement? Sustaining the sales and supply of crude oil to local refineries much in higher number, close to 650 billion barrels, 650 million thousand barrels per day, and they have also promised to be selling it for them in Naira. Many Nigerians are looking forward to that, and for me as an analyst, as an economist, I expect that to be sustained, because it is sustenance of that agreement that will definitely give us a reduction in price on the long run. But on the immediate term, that will not happen, because those refineries, local refineries, have some implication of buying some of their equipment, their machines, their tools, their spare parts in dollar. They cost, and they will factor that in at this point. For a long term, the ejaculation of this policy will ensure that the price of PMS come down for Nigeria. And for the government, you need to call them, particularly NMP. They must ensure that they are transparent, they are credible, Nigerians can have trust and have confidence in the government.
Right.
All right. Political economist, lead researcher and policy analyst at Pole Eco Analytics, a think tank and economic research organization based in Abuja. Therefore, Larry Olamilekun, thank you so much for, spending part of your day with us on the show this morning.
All right. Thank you for having me, and a very good morning to all our listeners out there.
Right. Okay. So,
well, this is where we get to call it a day. We thank you all sincerely for keeping us company on the show. To those who, called in, to those who sent in messages or voice note that we couldn't even, take because of time. Mm-hmm. It is not deliberate. Mm-hmm. It's actually the time factor we're working with. Thank you all so much for, keeping us company. Right. It's always, a pleasure knowing that you're out there listening to all of these conversations that we bring to the fore on a daily basis. We'd like to state very clearly that the views expressed by the guests and the callers were not influenced by Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja, your radio experience you can count on. I am Omoife Piso Semere.
And I am Udwak Daniel. Have a great day.
.com. Follow and engage with us now on Facebook,